The train had no markings, just a long, rust-black chain of steel cars crawling across the Siberian emptiness like some dying serpent. Inside one of those cars sat Ivan Morozov, wrists shackled, breath thawing in the frozen air. 3 days on the prison transport had stripped away whatever anger or hope he'd held onto. Now there was only the rattling metal, the cold, and the hollow question repeating in his mind: how did it come to this? Every prisoner around him was silent. Not out of discipline, out of exhaustion. The guards didn't talk. The inmates didn't talk. Silence had become the law of survival. The only sounds were the clank of rails and the occasional thud when the train jolted over a patch of ice. Ivan's teeth had been chattering for so long he no longer felt them. The transport car smelled like rust, sweat, and old metal filings. The benches were welded slabs of iron that bit through clothing. Every man sat stiff, frozen, trying to hide the fact that the cold was winning. The small barred window was fogged over, but Ivan could still see the endless snowfields stretching to the horizon, white, dead, and touched. There were no roads, no towns, no signs of life. Only the train, slicing through a landscape that looked abandoned by God. Rumors about the destination had reached him weeks before sentencing. Blackstone Fortress. Even saying the name out loud made Russian inmates lower their voices. Some called it a cold grave. Others said it was where the government sent men they didn't want to ever see again. It wasn't just a maximum security prison. It was a disappearance. Ivan blinked hard, trying to stay awake. The cold lulled you toward sleep, and sleep could kill you. His fingers had turned a worrying shade of white beneath the shackles. He wiggled them. Pain shot up his arm. Good. Pain meant they were still alive. A guard stomped down the aisle, boots heavy, rifle slung across his chest. His face was covered with a black mask that left only his eyes visible, flat, bored eyes that had seen too many men break. He checked the restraints one by one, tapping each link of chain with the butt of his rifle. When he reached Ivan, he paused for a second, as if trying to remember whether he recognized him. He didn't. That was the point. The guard moved on. Ivan's stomach growled. They had been given a single stale bun sometime the previous morning. Most of the men saved theirs, nibbling crumbs whenever the dizziness hit. Ivan had eaten his all at once. It was a mistake. Hunger not harder than cold. He tried to think of his mother, her hands warm from washing dishes, her small apartment in Perm with the broken heater he kept promising to fix. She'd cried during the sentencing, whispering that she knew the truth, that she believed him. He clung to that like a rope. In a world ready to bury him, she still saw him as her son. The train screeched, slowing. Every prisoner lifted his head. A guard barked, "Get ready. Heads down." Ivan's pulse quickened. The moment was here. He'd imagined it, Blackstone Fortress rising out of the snow like a nightmare. But imagination wasn't enough to prepare him. The doors slammed open, letting in a blast of wind so sharp it felt like knives against his skin. Guards shouted orders, dragging prisoners off the train. Row by row, chains clattered. Men stumbled into the blinding white outdoors. Ivan stepped out and froze. The prison stood in the distance like a giant slab of obsidian carved into the earth, black, rectangular, windowless on its outer walls, surrounded by 3 layers of fencing topped with razor wire so thick it looked like silver hair. Gleaming under the pale sky, guard towers rose above the walls, their silhouettes barely visible through swirling snow. The air tasted metallic and bitter. His lungs burned with each inhale. This wasn't normal cold. This felt engineered. A line of prisoners formed automatically, herded by masked guards with batons. Ivan shuffled into place. Snowflakes stuck to his face, melting instantly from his breath. Then he noticed something strange. No guard shouted. No one rushed the line. Everyone moved quietly, efficiently. The discipline wasn't fear, it was routine. Endless, crushing routine. Ahead, the entrance gate rolled open with a grinding mechanical roar. Inside the gate waited a group of officers dressed differently, gray uniforms, not black. Their coats were long, heavy, reinforced with plates. Their expressions carried nothing human. These were not transport guards. These were fortress staff. A short man with a clipboard inspected each prisoner. His voice was soft, disturbingly calm. Name, sentence, crime, cell block. When it came to Ivan's turn, the man glanced up briefly. Ivan Petrovich Morozov, 40 years, homicide. I didn't know the officer didn't care. He marked the paper and waved Ivan forward like checking off a shipment of metal parts. The next gate slammed behind them, locking with hydraulic force. They were now inside the outer perimeter between walls. A guard jabbed Ivan with a baton to make him keep pace. He muttered, eyes forward. The inner courtyard was brutal, snow packed into gray slush. Rusted pipes belched steam into the sky. The fortress doors loomed ahead to slabs of reinforced steel decorated with nothing but a serial number. No motto, no emblem, just raw, cold authority. He stepped onto the concrete. Ivan heard something he hadn't expected: screams. Faint but unmistakable. Not the chaos of a riot. More like the short, clipped cries of someone enduring something they couldn't fight. A prisoner in front of him whispered, "Welcome to the dead kilometer." 2 guards rushed over and smashed the man with a baton. He fell sideways, chains rattling. Ivan didn't move. Inside the main hall, warmth finally returned, but not comfort. The heat was dry and choking, pumped from vents high above. The walls were bare concrete stained with decades of grime. Cameras watched from every corner. Floodlights shone bright enough to erase shadows. A massive mural painted on the wall depicted a wolf devouring a deer. Under it, someone had scratched an inscription in Russian. Strength rules when mercy dies. Suppressing a chill, Ivan kept walking. They were marched into a processing room where guards stripped them, searched them, and sprayed them with some chemical disinfectant that burned the skin. Ivan gasped as it hit the cuts on his wrists. He stood naked in line, the air thick with humiliation and the sting of chemicals. Nobody protested. Protesting here was a luxury reserved for people who still had something left to lose. Prison uniforms were tossed at them. Gray coats, gray pants, no pockets, no personal identity. The fabric felt rough, cheap. Ivan dressed quickly, wanting warmth more than dignity. Another guard handed each man a thin blanket, a joke of a blanket and a pair of worn-out boots. Cell block assignment. A guard read from a list. Morozov, Block C. He'd heard of it. The wolves ruled there, the most violent gang inside Blackstone Fortress. They controlled trade, food smuggling, guard bribes, everything. Ivan swallowed hard. They marched him down a series of hallways that felt like a maze, each door sealed behind them with heavy pneumatic locks. The deeper they went, the colder there became again. Finally, they reached Block C. Noise hit him instantly. Shouts, metal banging, a harsh melody of chaos. This block was alive. The guard shoved Ivan inside. The door locked. Ivan found himself standing in a long corridor, lined with cells. Prisoners watched silently from behind bars, eyes studying him, measuring him, deciding what category he belonged to. Fresh blood always brought attention. A tall man with a shaved head leaned against the railing above on the second floor. Staring down, his left cheek carried a long scar shaped like a lightning bolt. He smiled slow, predatory. "You meet," someone whispered. Ivan felt his pulse race. He stepped forward cautiously, gripping his blanket and trying not to show fear. Then a fist hit him from the side. His vision blurred. He stumbled but didn't fall. The attacker, a young inmate with tattoos crawling up his neck, grinned. "Welcome to see." Ivan wiped the blood from his mouth. The block erupted in laughter. He stood up straight, quiet, steady. He didn't give them the satisfaction of a reaction. The scarred man on the second floor watched with interest. This was his first test, and it was only the beginning. He pulled in a breath. His chest tight. Blackstone Fortress had swallowed him whole. Now he had to survive being digested. In Blackstone Fortress didn't feel like nights at all. The lights never fully dimmed, only shifted to a colder, bluish hue that made everything look like a morgue. Ivan barely slept. The moment he closed his eyes, the echoes of the day returned: the punch, the laughter, the way the scarred man stared down with quiet ownership, as if he'd already decided Ivan was another piece on his board. Morning arrived, not with sunlight but with the blare of a metal siren that rattled the cell bars. Ivan pushed himself up from the thin mattress, muscles stiff from the cold. His breath fogged in the air. The blanket had done nothing. His body felt heavier, slower, but his mind was sharp. He had no choice. Slow thinking meant early death. The guard walked the corridor, knocking batons on each door. "Wake up! Line up!" Ivan rubbed his eyes and stepped to the front of his cell. When the bars slid open, he joined the line of prisoners filtering into the corridor. Some looked dead already, walking corpses shaped by years inside this machine. Others watched everything with predator's focus. The tall, scarred man from yesterday stood at the end of the hallway, his arms crossed. His name, Ivan had learned from whispers, was Mikhail Volk-Sidorov, leader of the Wolves, not officially. Of course, nothing in Blackstone Fortress was official except the brutality. Volk's eyes locked onto Ivan as he approached. "Fresh face," Volk said. "Still standing? Good." Ivan kept his gaze neutral. "I didn't come here to impress you." A few inmates snickered. Volk smiled and phased. "You're either brave or stupid. We'll find out which." The line moved. Guards herded them into the cafeteria, massive hall with concrete pillars and long metal tables bolted to the floor. The smell hit hard: cabbage, sweat, and disinfectant. Breakfast was a bowl of thin porridge with something unidentifiable floating on top. Ivan took his bowl and scanned for a place to sit. Volk's voice cut across the noise. "Morozov." "Here." A command, not an invitation. Every instinct told Ivan to avoid that table. But avoiding it would make him look weak, and weakness in Block C was terminal. He walked over, placing his tray down. The wolves sat around Volk, 8 men, all watching him. Tattoos covered their arms, some with symbols Ivan recognized from the Russian underworld, others were too crude or personal to decode. Their eyes tracked his every movement. Volk leaned forward. "So, what put you here?" 40 years. "Big number." Ivan ate first out slowly. "Show no rush. Show no fear." "I didn't kill anyone," he said. But the court didn't care. Someone needed to take the blame. One of the wolves chuckled. "Everyone's innocent in here. I'm not asking you to believe me," Ivan replied. "I'm telling you how it is." Volk studied him with growing interest. "You don't talk like a soft man." "I'm not." A silence settled. The wolves didn't laugh this time. Volk finally spoke. "You work in the outside world, yes?" "Warehouse loader." Volk nodded as if confirming a detail from a file he'd already read. "Good." "Blackstone has work rotations. Some blocks get laundry. Others get the mines. Here, we handle distribution." "Distribution of what?" Ivan asked. Another wolf grinned. "Of whatever needs moving." Volk tapped the table with a finger. "Listen, you're new. That makes you vulnerable. Someone will test you, like yesterday. They'll test you again. You survive the tests. You get a place. Fail them, well." A prisoner from another table collapsed suddenly. Bull crashing to the floor. Guards swarmed. No one flinched, not even Volk. "What failing looks like," Volk finished. Ivan kept his expression flat. "I'll handle myself, maybe," Volk said. "But strength isn't enough here. You'll need allies." Ivan pushed back slightly. "I don't plan on joining any gang." The wolves exchanged looks. A few smirked. Volk leaned closer, voice dropping. "You misunderstand. In Block C, you're in a gang whether you want to be or not. Either ours, or our enemies. One protects you, one kills you." Ivan didn't respond. His silence was answer enough. Volk sat back. "We'll see if the fortress eats you. If not, maybe you'll run with us, after breakfast." Work rotations were assigned. Ivan found himself in a distribution unit with 5 wolves and 2 unaffiliated inmates who looked terrified to even breathe wrong. They moved crates sealed, heavy, and marked through underground tunnels connecting the blocks. The air grew colder the deeper they went. Ivan suspected the crates held supplies meant to be rationed. But the wolves redistributed them as they pleased: food, tools, cigarettes, medicine. The guards pretended not to notice. In the tunnels, Ivan finally spoke quietly to one of the unaffiliated inmates, a thin man named Leonid. "What happens if someone refuses Volk?" Leonid kept his eyes on the crates. Then someone else joins the wolves wearing your skin. Ivan got the answer he expected. Not the one he wanted. As they hauled another crate, a loud scrape echoed behind them. Ivan turned just in time to see two inmates from Block D Broad, heavily tattooed, clearly not friendly, approaching with pipes hidden under their coats. Wolves stiffened instantly. Volk didn't walk with them on this shift. So the attack came now. One of the Block D men jabbed a finger at Ivan. That's him, the new one. Bring him. Ivan stepped back. He didn't know these men, but apparently someone did. Prison politics moved faster than rumors. A wolf named Yuri whispered, "Stay close." The Block D inmates lunged. The tunnels erupted into chaos. Pipes swung. Fists cracked against bone. The metallic thud of violence rolled through the stone walls. One attacker swung at Ivan. He dodged barely, the pipe slicing past his ear. Ivan punched forward straight into the man's throat. The attacker gagged, dropping his weapon, eyes wide in shock. Ivan grabbed the pipe and smashed it into the man's ribs. The second Block D inmate roared and tackled him, sending both crashing into the crates. Pain shot through Ivan's back. The man pinned him, breath rancid, spit flying. "You're marked, little dove." Ivan wrapped both hands around the man's throat and squeezed with everything he had. The man struggled, clawing at Ivan's wrists. His face reddened, then purpled. A wolf dragged the attacker off before Ivan killed him outright. The D-Block men fled, limping, spitting curses. Silence followed, broken only by the wolves catching their breath. Yuri nudged Ivan. "You fight like someone who's been in worse places than this." "Maybe I have," Ivan muttered. They finished the shift tense and quiet, back in Block C. Word spread fast, the new guy wasn't prey. Volk approached him outside his cell. "You handled yourself well." His tone wasn't praise, it was an assessment. "But you made enemies today." "I didn't start it. No one starts anything here. The fortress decides who bleeds," Volk said. "And right now, it wants to know what you're made of." Ivan exhaled. "I'm not joining you," Volk smirked. "You already have. The moment you fought beside my wolves." The line was drawn. Ivan clenched his jaw. "I didn't fight for you." "No," Volk replied. "You fought to stay alive. That's enough. Block D won't forget today. They'll send more. Stronger ones." "And what do you want from me?" Ivan asked. Volk stepped closer until they were nearly face to face. "To survive here, you must pick a side. And whether you admit it or not, you're already on mine." The prison loudspeaker crackled overhead. "Locked down in 5 minutes. Volk backed away. "Think fast, Morozov. The fortress tests you again tomorrow." Ivan returned to his cell, mind racing. He sat on the mattress, stared at his shaking hands, and understood a grim truth. And here, survival wasn't about innocence. It wasn't about strength. It wasn't even about violence. It was about belonging to a force more dangerous than the place itself. And now, whether he wanted it or not, that force was watching him, waiting, claiming him. By the third morning, Ivan understood something new about Blackstone Fortress. Every day arrived like a dare. A challenge from the prison itself. Survive this, or the walls will swallow you. He woke to the same metallic siren, the same freezing air. But something felt different, quiet, too quiet. The hallway outside his cell wasn't filled with the usual early shouts or door slams. Instead, prisoners stood in an easy silence, eyes avoiding one another. When the bars rolled open, Ivan stepped into the corridor and immediately noticed the guards, twice as many as usual, helmets, shields, batons out, not relaxed, not bored, ready. Something had happened overnight. Volk stood farther down the hall, arms crossed, expression unreadable. His wolves formed a loose ring around him, watching everything. Ivan approached slowly. "What's going on?" Volk didn't look at him. Block D made their move early. "What move?" This time Volk met his eyes. "They killed one of ours." Ivan stiffened. "Who?" "Yuri." The name hit him harder than expected. The man had fought beside him yesterday, shared a meal, gave advice. In this place, that counted for something. "How?" Ivan asked. "Shift to the ribs. Laundry room." Volk's jaw flexed. "They left him there until a worker found him at dawn." Ivan exhaled slowly. Because of me, Volk didn't sugarcoat it. Partly, but mostly because they hate us. You were just the excuse they needed. Guilt crawled up Ivan's spine, cold and sharp. He didn't owe these men anything. Not loyalty. Not allegiance. But someone had died because he was now in the wolves' orbit. Before he could respond, a guard shouted, "Move!" Cafeteria. The men filed out. But as they walked, something became clearer. Block C's prisoners parted around Volk's crew like water. No one made eye contact. No one spoke. Fear had a shape here, a name. Inside the cafeteria, the tension only thickened. Block D inmates sat grouped together, glaring across the room. Some pointed at Ivan. Others dragged their fingers across their throats. A storm was coming, Volk said. And the wolves followed. Ivan hesitated, then took his place beside them. Volk spoke under his breath. "You sit with us now. That means you're protected. But protection has a price. I didn't ask for it," Ivan replied. "That's not how this place works. Once someone targets you, you need a family. Right now, we're the only one you've got." Ivan clenched his jaw. "What do you want?" Volk leaned in, voice low as a blade. "Loyalty." Eyes open. Hands ready. Then added, "And when the time comes, the courage to do what needs to be done." Ivan said nothing. Silence was safer than a lie. After breakfast, instead of going to work rotations, Block C was marched back to their cells. The lockdown announcement echoed through the halls. Something big was happening. Hours passed. No movement, no noise. Just the hum of cold air flowing through vents. Then, suddenly keys. 2 guards opened Ivan's cell. Morozov. "Come." For a split second he wondered if Block D had bribed someone. If he'd be walked into a dark room and not walked out again. But the guards led him instead to a gray interview chamber. A table. 2 chairs. A camera in the corner blinking red. A man in a gray suit sat waiting. Clean cut. American accent. Out of place in this dungeon-like prison. "Please sit," he said. Ivan lowered himself cautiously. "Who are you?" The man opened a folder. "My name is Thomas Hale, U.S. Embassy Liaison." Ivan blinked. Why would the U.S. care about me? Hale slid a document across the table. Ivan didn't touch it. Because, Hale said, your case wasn't just mishandled. It was tampered with. Ivan stared. His pulse quickened. "Explain." Hale folded his hands. 2 weeks before your arrest, your employer received a large anonymous payment. Soon after, statements were altered. Evidence planted. But the most concerning part is this. He tapped the folder. Your conviction helped cover up a smuggling ring. Someone needed a fall guy. You were convenient. Ivan's chest tightened. Not surprise, confirmation. The truth he'd always felt but couldn't prove. "Why tell me this now?" he asked. "Because one of the people involved is hiding somewhere in this prison," Hale said. "We don't know who yet, but whoever it is, they don't want you talking." Ivan's blood ran cold. "So? The attack yesterday, the killing today, not random," Hale said. "And more are coming." Ivan leaned forward. "What am I supposed to do?" Hale studied him. "Stay alive. Avoid conflict. Don't align with gangs. Too late for that."